Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching or listening. It's great to be here with Dr. Barb Fox from Iowa. Hi, Dr. Barb.
Hey. Hi, Rob. This is great. I'm so thankful to be on your show. I've got so much to help people.
I'm thankful you're here. Thank you very much. Well, we're gonna dig into a lot of things, testing. We're going to talk about food, your philosophy on feeding food. I can't wait to hear that. And then we're going to talk about, I want to also dig into what people might want to know about telemedicine, Zoom calls, Zoom health calls with veterinarians, because I think this is a completely overlooked and underutilized, underappreciated, misunderstood topic. So we're going to dig into that as well. So first, tell me a little bit about, just give the audience, like, what do I need to know about you that tells me how you got where you are today as a holistic vet?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I've been in practice for 30 plus years. I graduated from Iowa State University in 1994. I started out in traditional practice for 17 years until I was faced with a very serious health challenge. I was actually diagnosed with a really aggressive breast cancer. And I was shocked because I thought I was pretty healthy. I had the health issues, but I was 50 at the time. I thought, it's not that, I'm just aging. And then when I had the cancer diagnosis, it was a game changer totally, because I had so many allergies, digestive upsets. I'm just trying to list off some of the health issues I had. And I thought, my goodness, if I go through conventional treatment for this issue, which I was more scared, actually, Rob, of the conventional treatment than I was the disease itself.
I get that.
Yeah. So I changed my whole thought process. I had to let that fear go, and I decided to go a totally holistic route for my healing. And I'm not telling anybody on this show to do what I did. I'm just saying this worked for me. It made the most sense to me. Yeah. And so I was fortunate enough to be acquainted with a human chiropractor that looked at me, and she said, after she looked at my chart for the very first appointment, she goes, "Well, Barbara, I see you have a temporary health challenge. When do you want to get started?" I'm like, oh my gosh, temporary health challenge. Nobody had ever said that before. The doctors were like grim-faced, and it's like I felt like I was in a casket before I even got out of the exam room. And here was a chiropractor going like, oh my gosh, you've got a temporary health challenge. So this is a long story. I'm going to really make it abbreviated, but over a year and a half, I went to her at least 3 or 4 times a week, and she did different things like muscle testing, had some energy devices on me, did adjustments, started me on a high quality supplemental program, changed my diet. I ramped up my exercise, had an attitude of gratitude for everything. And that's really important when you're sick. Even if you feel like crap, you still have to, have the attitude that everything's going to be fine. And I had a lot of faith, and I'm not talking in religious tones here. I'm just saying a spiritual connection to a higher power that brought me through a lot of dark times. And so when I started to feel better, after I was done with a year and a half of letting things go, I felt better than I had in 30 years. And so I thought, what can I do for my animal patients since this is working so well for me? I knew nothing except how to prescribe medications, do surgery, and, that was pretty much it. So I joined the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. I'm still an active member there. I started going to meetings. I got acquainted with an organic veterinarian, should say a holistic veterinarian that was servicing organic dairy farms. And he heard my story about my health. He says, "Barb, if you've got cancer, you've got to start using essential oils." He was heavily into essential oils, Rob. And so I went to every meeting, every workshop, every conference I could get my hands on that had either essential oils or, got into more different therapies and modalities for holistic care for animals. And so here I am today doing what I do.
Oh, that's great. it's always interesting, and it's always a little bit, I don't know, the word is maybe regretful or upsetting a little bit that, we all have these stories that we take these big leaps in understanding or, changes because of something really serious that happens to us and or our pets. But but that's what probably these things are here for, to keep us evolving, and some of us need to make some pretty big jumps.
Right.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and then,
yeah.
I was just seeing, and people would ask or tell, when I told my story, they'd say, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had cancer." I'm like, I'm not, because really I would not be doing what I am doing today had I not had the health scare.
Hey there, this is Rob Ryan. I just want to say how much we enjoy making this content for you here. And if you are enjoying it, would you like our video down below? And would you subscribe to our YouTube channel? It sure does help us get discovered by more people like you who need information like this. And also, down below in our description, the top link is to our trial pack. We hope you'll order one for your dog so your dog can have fermented superfoods that give them nutrition like they can't find anywhere else. Hard to get nutrients that are easily absorbed. Thank you very much. Now back to the show.
That's how the world unfolds. And it's just sometimes we can't, I think it was Steve Jobs that said you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward.
Right.
Yeah. But, okay. So you moved to the AHVMA, American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association. Great. And before that, were you advocating raw food or?
Oh, no, because I knew nothing about it. I was still recommending dry foods that were what they called the premium quality.
Yeah.
And it was an eye-opener when I started studying pet nutrition. It's like, gosh, this makes so much sense. What have I been thinking all along?
So after all this, like, you had this huge life change. You're changing a complete paradigm on nutrition, which is, that's like its own massive thing, going from, being a vet that prescribes kibble to, just real food is kind of a big paradigm shift. What else did you shift? What did you add to your repertoire of, services and, offerings?
Well, I kept it really simple. I know that if I specialized in a lot of different things, I was not going to be good at all of them. So essential oils, I am on the board. I'm a board member of the Veterinary Medical Aromatherapy Association. It's a non-branded organization for veterinarians, but we also let lay people join that organization, and we bring truth about how essential oils are, what the purity, genuineness, I should say, of the essential oils are as far as safety and efficacy. There are a lot of bad essential oils on the market. And so that's one thing I feel very passionate about. I also use several companies' supplements. I'm not a big, let's get expansive and use 10 different companies. I think I'm at 4 or 5 right now. And so I do that. I also do the quantum nutrition testing, which I'm getting, taking more classes and getting more education in, because we can really, really go deep with the quantum testing, which is muscle testing, but we get, find the root causes and then even dig farther than the root causes to bring about changes in patients. So those are the things I do.
No, that's great. How does your testing, the quantum testing, does it differ that much from like kinesiology or?
Not really. The whole premise is the same. You can go to 10 different classes and learn 10 different ways of muscle testing. But the difference with the quantum is we go deep, really deep. So for example, I was just in Orlando last weekend, and it was hot. It was steamy there. Anyway, we took a level 2 class where we get into the torus field, which is like the metaphysical field around the animal, trying to figure out what's causing issues internally from the torus fields. We'll even go into, testing every ingredient in a pet food to make sure that there's no sensitivity for that animal. The possibilities of testing are endless, but it's more the intention that you have in asking the right questions to get the right answers.
Sure. And go into that just a little bit. So let's just use one example of an ingredient in a pet food. And how would you test generally, explain for the audience so they can visualize it if they don't know what that is? How do you do that?
Well, if I had the animal in person, I would have a surrogate or a person that was touching the animal, and then I would use their arm to test. So a strong response is the muscle can't be moved. If it's a weakness in the body, the arm drops.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little bit, when I'm doing virtual testing, it's a little different. I use the method, and a lot of dowsers use this. They'll take their finger and make a ring, take the index finger of the other hand, and if it breaks, that's a weakness. If it holds, like I can ask you, is your name Rob? It's nice and strong. Is your name Joe? Now it's a weak. That's a negative. So that's how I test, or I can use the fingers of my hand. Some people just use, they rub their fingers together. Where it stops is an answer.
Okay.
I have to do the method that works best for me.
Yeah. Well, people, when they first hear this, of course, they think it's just ridiculous because, what they immediately think is, well, like, I'm just going to be strong when I want and won't be, but that's not how it works. And all I'm going to say is, I have one of the best doctors in the world. I've had him for over 2.5 decades, and he uses it and he believes in it, and he's taught me how to do it. Like, I can do it in the grocery store,
right?
Buying something, holding it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you honestly, it works. I mean, because some things are not, I just put it to you this way. I have been very curious to see if I can do it. And if it, I wasn't incentivized, I'll put it to you that way, and in any way in my mind or otherwise, to have the findings I found. So I'll just say that. But I also noticed some of the greatest vets that get the most amazing health outcomes. They have, decades of bona fides, results. They have a great client list to back all of this up. And this is one of the key, areas that they practice. It's up to the practitioner. You have to be committed to it and be good at it.
It takes practice, Rob. It was strange to me because I had the same chiropractor that ended up being my chiropractor when I had the cancer scare.
Yeah.
I was at just a workshop, and she was testing people, and she would have us hold a cell phone up to our body, and our arms would just go down. And as much as I tried, I could not hold my arm up. And I put the phone down, arms nice and strong. And I went, holy moly, that just blew me away. But when I was trying to tell this to another chiropractor, that doesn't muscle test, he said, that sounds a little bit out there, but he said, I guess it's the same for chiropractic and acupuncture. How do you explain how that works? And I went, yeah, bingo.
Yeah, for sure. Was chiropractic part of a key component of your treatment?
Yes, it was a big part, but it wasn't just the adjustments. She had a lot of different PEMF, which is pulsed electromagnetic frequency machines in her office. We had little lights, the green lights, which is a resonance type of light. It sends you it matches the frequencies that your body needs. I'm trying to put this in easy terms because when I first looked at those lights, there was a 56-page research paper on it, and I was way over my head. So I just accept it. When it works,
Yeah. And so how strongly then do you feel about animals getting chiropractic?
I feel very strongly. I know that I just never went to do the acupuncture and the chiropractic because I basically would have to have taken a year off from practice, and it just wasn't feasible at that time to do that. Yeah, I do. And what I do now, Rob, is I don't do acupuncture, but I will use acupressure with essential oils, and I'll use principles of chiropractic without actually, adjusting how a traditional chiropractor would do that. But I think it's really important. If anybody has access to an animal chiropractor, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I've done it for all my dogs their whole lives for over 25 years. Can you articulate why that's so important to wellness and health?
Well, like I said just a few minutes ago, chiropractic is really hard to explain. People are thinking when they hear that cracking sound that you're moving a bone. You're really not. You're just letting the body rebalance, and it's a release of gas that's in that area. But I think that chiropractors can find minute imbalances, and they can fix those imbalances and bring the body back into homeostasis.
Yeah.
So acupuncture can also, but chiropractic, when the chiropractor puts her hands on an animal, I think it's really important. I think, and here I'm going down a little rabbit trail, but bear with me. A lot of the young veterinarians I see coming out of vet school today rely on diagnostic testing. They sometimes never touch an animal, or they may put the stethoscope on and that's all they do. They rely on the testing.
Yeah.
And I graduated 30 years ago, like I said, and we were taught to do a full physical exam. And as a holistic practitioner, it's really important to feel the energy. And if you you don't even have to be trained to feel energy. You just allow it to happen. Yeah. And like I said, with intention, you can be a practitioner yourself without a DVM degree.
Yeah. I mean, just tuning in, focusing, tuning out the noise of your life and your thoughts and all that. But yeah, it's not that difficult.
Right.
It starts like anything with intention. So, all right. So let's move now to, I'd love to talk to you about telemedicine, which you do. So like, first and foremost, let's define what do you define as telemedicine?
Well, it's simply using technology, whether it's a phone, a Zoom call, FaceTime, or Skype, to connect with the pet parent and find out what we can do to help that pet. A lot of people don't have access to a holistic veterinarian in their area.
Right.
And so there are a couple regulations that I have to follow, like to satisfy my state requirement, for my licensing, I have to have medical records, including diagnostic tests forwarded to me before we even talk. And then sometimes if like somebody says, I don't use Zoom or I don't know how to FaceTime, I'll go, okay, just send me some videos. And so if they're like today, I got a couple videos of a dog that was really, really uncoordinated in the back end, really needed a lot of help. And the videos are so helpful. So it's almost like seeing that patient in person. And then, we just have to have a valid veterinary client relationship with those medical records, and then we can get started. So I've even consulted with people in Canada. I had one contact me in Mexico. Sometimes the currency exchange is prohibitive for, the fees, but at least we can do that all over the country and all over the world practically.
Yeah. Do you, it's important to say that state by state, it's all different. Every single state has different rules that govern vets in that state. And some don't you don't have to have the records transferred right away. And some are really, really strict, more strict than Iowa. But it's not that hard. You just call your vet, say, hey, forward this over to Dr. Fox. Well, I just want to get a couple opinions. A friend referred me. Just say, that's your vet, and away you go. Well, what I think is, like, a lot of people think, well, how is this vet, how is Barb Fox going to diagnose and cure my dog? And I just want to say something that is easier for me to say than it is for you, maybe. I think the value of telemedicine with a great holistic vet is actually not in a diagnosis or a treatment. It's my opinion that more often than not, I mean, it certainly could be, it's a cherry on top. It could be an amazing bonus, but it's really having a coach that helps you think through a problem or problems and identify like what to be looking for. And, certainly you're able to look at these videos as you just give an example and say, well, I think this is what's going on, and that's amazing. But also like, helping to work with a conventional vet that's local to you, if that's your situation. A lot of people in rural America, they don't have access to a vet, and their vet may even be 30 miles away.
Right.
So I think that having a partner, a health partner on your dog's health team that helps you just be thinking the right way about, well, gee, what am I asking for? Like you can help determine what blood tests get done, or, hey, have them look into the ear and look for this thing. There's just an infinite number of options that I think if people would just I think everybody should give phone consults a try. And I think everybody should get a second opinion vet consult when they need it. Even if you have a genius vet, because I'll just tell you, like, everybody's got their experiences, and I work with amazing people all the time, but I have never once been disappointed when I have another opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, and I even tell people, just don't take my word for it. Work with your team. If you've got the acupuncturist, if you've got the canine rehabilitation specialist, if you have your regular veterinarian, I always encourage people to have a regular veterinarian, because you never know if you have an emergency or you need some diagnostic tests done. Obviously, I can't do diagnostic tests when we're thousands of miles apart, but you can get those tests done. The veterinarian who's the attending veterinarian will still get the revenue from that. I will get the results and be able to put something together. So yes, win-win.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that I think that is woefully underappreciated or misunderstood is like what this appointment really is. It's actually designed to help. It's going to save you a lot of time, and time, sometimes minutes, hours, days, can be everything, and in some cases, and it's going to save you a ton of money. So I had an occasion where, I'm actually I did a phone consult with a dentist for myself in Los Angeles. Genius dentist. And, it was a couple $100. And then that led to me scheduling an appointment. So I'm flying to see her. I just think she's the best, and she's going to take care of me the best way. And she does these peptide injections that I'm going to do, and in my gum, in this tooth, and I can't find that anywhere else. So I'm flying over, and I'm going to see her, and I have to pay her fee as well. I have a great great dentist here, but all of that could potentially save me a lot. Could potentially save a tooth. Could be potentially save me thousands of dollars. And if you think strategically around it, it sometimes seems at first blush like it's crazy expensive or more expensive. But what you want to be thinking about, I think, is how fast you're getting to a result and maybe a resolution, and then that speed, what it saves you in money and expense. Because we all have been in this situation where, like, an illness or a situation gets worse and worse and worse and bigger and bigger and bigger. Because, if you catch something early, it's usually much cheaper, much less painful in every single way for your dog, for you, for your pocketbook. So getting the time thing and the resources, the intelligence, the way of thinking around a problem. I'm so bullish on having a good healthcare team, because there's really almost, if you have the right team, there's almost nothing that you can come in contact with that somebody in the team is going to be able to tell you, don't worry about it. Or, you know what, you should go to a specialty clinic and use this, go get a CAT scan or something. And you're like, what? Like, I would have never thought that, or whatever the, situation. So tell us how your consults go. Like, just give us a little bit of information about what somebody would expect on a consult with you.
Okay, I'll just use a real example without names. Several years ago, a state representative, I won't mention which state, contacted me. She had a 1.5-year-old. I can't remember what kind of shepherd it was, but it was one of those big, beautiful, furry, not a Napoleon, but whatever. It was a shepherd. Shepherds have very sensitive stomachs. And so she had spent something like $15,000 in the first 8 months of this dog's life trying to keep him from vomiting and have diarrhea every other weekend. She had gone to several emergency clinics, the university of the state that she's in. I won't mention that state. Yeah. And she was just at a loss, and her dog was still puking and had diarrhea every other week. And so I consulted with her, and she sent me all the medical records from the emergency clinics and the specialty clinics and everything. And I went through, and it was like, Rob, it was the same scenario all over. Like the prescription, GI food, antibiotics, steroids, anti-vomiting, anti-diarrheal medications, and the dog wasn't getting any better. And so I had her forward all the information. Yep. Okay, so then I review it. Then we set up a time to talk on the phone. So that first phone call is anywhere from 30 to maybe 50 minutes, depending on the information that I need. That's kind of like phase one. It's the introduction part where we're just gathering information. I'm getting into details about how often you feed, what treats were fed, just things that wouldn't pop up on the medical records. And then after that, then phase two is where I put together a written report summarizing everything we talked about, and then making a beginning protocol, making recommendations for what I suggest they do based on my quantum nutrition testing, and as well as looking at the records and seeing what did they miss, what are they doing that we need to fix.
Yeah.
And so that takes me sometimes. It takes me a couple, maybe 2 to 3 hours to put together a really good report. Then I email that to the pet parent. And then we schedule follow-ups about 4 weeks from the initial one. So that's in a nutshell how I make things work.
Okay, great. So do you find any do you find any big advantage to the Zoom or Skype besides seeing the dog and doing a live video with the dog? Is there any other advantage to that?
Well, in Iowa, they say that you have to have some kind of video, or, you've got to be doing this on a Zoom call or something like that. I just have some people that don't want to do it, and that's fine. And I just say, hey, just send me a video and some pictures, and then we can go from there.
Right. Okay, that's very interesting. So let's talk about food. So what is your overall philosophy for dog and cat food? What do you tell people now?
I tell them it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to probably raise a few eyebrows, but I'm going to say that in my opinion, after studying this for years and years, there's no such thing as a balanced diet. There's no such thing as a complete balanced diet.
No.
Not even for us, right? Yeah. I mean, and then I would ask I'm a real critical thinker, and I would say, well, what is a balanced diet? Who made the rules for a balanced diet?
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm running a marathon, I'm going to need different nutrients than somebody who's sitting on the couch all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the same way for our animals. If we've got a working animal, if we have a pregnant animal, if we have the couch potato dog or cat, they don't need, it's not rocket science. They don't need as many nutrients or calories as that working animal. Now, you mentioned cats, and I'm very, very, very adamant that cats should never, ever be fed, well, dogs either, but too many cats are still on dry kibble. And that's the worst thing. If you want to shorten your kitty's life, you put them on dry food.
Or kidney disease.
Yes, because cats were not designed by nature to drink a lot of water. They don't have that instinct to drink water. That mechanism is not in their brain. They get the great majority of their moisture through their prey. So we have the house cat that never gets outside to catch a bird, a bunny, or a mouse or whatever, and they're walking around in a constant state of dehydration. And so with dogs, same thing. It's not as important, but get away from the dry kibble, because the dry kibble, and I even have some online courses on nutrition where I've gone into the dangers of dry food, the pet food industry, how dirty it is, that kind of thing. And dry food has its carcinogens from the processing with high heat and high pressure. And then we think of all the pesticides and the herbicides, not to mention the 4D animals, the diseased, dead, dying, and disabled animals that can be allowed in pet food, in dry pet food, even a canned pet food. Yeah. So that's kind of like, if you wanted my opinion on it, I'd say get to feeding your animals the way nature intended to, as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Well, not only do I agree with you as somebody who's done it for 25 years, more than 25 years, but Dr. Billinghurst, who's done it for over 40. And for those of you who don't know who Dr. Billinghurst is, he wrote the books, the first few books, taught pretty much every vet that is currently doing raw food, taught them how to teach raw food. And he says, look, it's absurdly simple. It's balance over time. So people try to get a perfect meal. And I think what you said is so perfect, that who's to say what is your nutritional needs or my nutritional needs, that dog's nutritional needs or that dog's nutritional needs. And what is so hysterical is we're running around, pretending like, we should be fed by calculators and formulators and spreadsheets and even recipes. Now, I love recipes because they inspire. Okay. And in the human world, I love recipes because I might not know how to make something. So
right.
That's great. But the recipes for dogs and cats, what it's doing is there is a complete fear and anxiety now that's being built in. It started with kibble, because kibble said, the kibble's message is you can't do this on your own. And it says, complete imbalance on the packaging. And so it's really subtle marketing, but it's basically saying this is not only complete, but it's also balanced. You couldn't do that. And then what happened is the raw food coaches came in, some of them, and they're saying, look, only I and I alone, or somebody like me, can formulate this. And we're going to get in our computer, or we're going to give you access to our formulator, and you're going to be able to formulate. My problem is, it doesn't take into account anything. It doesn't take into account, literally the knowledge of the breed, the lifestyle. I mean, of course you can say this is an active dog or not active dog, but boy, oh boy, I mean, there's so much nuance in this. It's crazy. So you just got to, it's principles, Dr. Billinger says we have to stop this practice of nutritionism. He calls it nutritionism. And getting nutrients, counting nutrients. Well, I got to have, 3 milligrams of this and 10 milligrams of this. And everybody knows instinctively, wolves don't eat by spreadsheet. People don't eat that way. For the life of me, I just can't figure out why people have fallen for this. It's, it takes one anxiety and it replaces it with a proprietary system, and it never frees the pet parent. So they never feel as if they can do this on their own. And what I think it does ultimately is I think it hurts the raw pet food movement. Because,
sure does. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you think something's hard and you're busy and, you're not confident, So, and that's fine. Some people, I understand, it's a new concept to them and it totally makes sense. I was a chicken at the beginning. You know what I did? I called Dr. Billinghurst and I had phone consults with him. I was a big chicken. I was told by my vet, Marty Goldstein and Bob Goldstein, both of them were tag team helping me out with my first puppy, buddy. And they said, go read this book. I said, I'm not reading a book. Are you kidding me? It's going to make me crazy. So I just said, I'll consult with Dr. Billinghurst. And in a month, pretty much, I was off to the races. I was like, I just trust this guy. He came highly recommended. I'm going to do it. So I had no stress and anxiety, but I understand the anxiety of other people. So I really just appreciate your message and, keeping things simple, because can you just explain what this means, balance over time, what it means? Give somebody who's stressed out about that idea, give them some confidence.
Well, I can just make the example, and I think you started to explain this, Rob, that balance happens over time. Let's use the wild dog as an example, or the coyote. We have coyotes in Iowa. I'm sure you do in Colorado too.
Oh, yeah.
They may go a day or two without eating. They may come because maybe they can't find prey. Maybe they find that bunny or that rodent. They kill the whole thing and eat it. Well, that's probably balanced for that day. But they may come across a half-eaten carcass, or they'll nibble on some corn or something because they're hungry and they can't find anything to eat. Well, but they still survive, right? And sometimes they thrive. And so if they're missing a nutrient or two, the animals are so smart. They're smarter than we are. Their body knows what they need, and they will go out and search for that to get that balance. Yeah. So it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't maybe happen every week, but over time, it's going to balance itself out. And so I just tell people, don't sweat it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Now, I could go the opposite direction and tell you, I did have a client that was doing everything wrong. She was on a dry kibble, and I said, you've got to start making your dog's own food, or buy a commercially prepared freeze-dried food or some commercially prepared raw food, because the little dog was having problems, okay? Yeah. So I saw her a couple months later, and she said, Dr. Fox, I'm so excited. I'm making, and I can't remember the dog's name, making his food. I said, oh, great. I'm so happy for you. I said, what are you feeding it? She goes, beef liver. Yeah. I said, what else? And she had the deer in the headlights look, like, was I supposed to do something else? And I had to gently say, that's great that you're feeding beef liver, but we've got to add some different things because we're missing some vital nutrients. And then she was fine with that. But
yeah. The defense of recipes and formulators and calculators and spreadsheets and so on is that person that you're bringing up. And, God bless her. She's trying hard. And, people get things wrong all the time. We get things wrong all the time, every single one of us. And I always have a problem. I always find it to be troublesome when we design like a program, an educational program for the masses to protect a couple dogs from the naive or ignorant. And again, like, I'm not even saying ignorant in a malicious way or,
right.
It just look up the word, if, ignorant. It just means they're not aware. That's all. Right. And I'm ignorant all the time. I'm ignorant right here as I sit before you on something. I'm sure of it. And so we all have this time, and it's not okay to over standardize or oversimplify or, overprotect every single person because you think they're not going to do their research or people are not smart. People are really smart. And there's a lot of resources out there. And are people going to get it wrong? Sure. Are people getting it wrong with kibble and killing their pets? Of course they are. Over time, sure. They're not like, it doesn't happen right away, right, but they're shortening their lives. So you can make an argument, And this young lady, she would have some problems by feeding liver for months and months and months. It would start to show up, and she would have to go to the vet, and they'd say, whoa, we have, course correction, ma'am. So I just have a tough time. Like, yes, we know there are people who have, blind spots, but we don't have to design products and curriculum just for those people. It's pretty darn simple to educate people, whether you have a couple of vet consults, you get a good book. I mean, Dr. Billinghurst's book is like, costs nothing. Give your dog a bone. It's like everything you need is right there.
Right.
So real quick, let's tell the audience why you wouldn't want to feed liver meal after meal after meal.
For one thing, dogs need a balance, and they mainly need muscle meat for the protein and other nutrients like phosphorus. The you need calcium. And this is one of the main things that I see in homemade diets that people forget to add, are not aware that they need to add calcium or some kind of ground bone or whatever. But I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. You were doing great. So no, it was just the liver.
Oh, organ.
Too much liver is a bad thing. Why?
Well, we're just not getting enough of the other nutrients and the vitamins and minerals. So normally if a dog, going back to the wild dog is going to eat the muscle meat. It will eat some of the ingestus, some of the intestinal contents, and then some of the organs, but may not eat. It just depends. Like I said, they know what they need. But organ meat in itself doesn't have everything that an animal would need to sustain itself over time. And that's, I was probably not a really good example using just the organ meats, but
no, it's a great example because it could happen to anybody. I mean, I think there's way too much vitamin A.
Yeah.
If you get the wrong liver, there's probably not. Liver is a filtering organ, one of the key filtering organs. It may not be clean. Get a good clean liver. Things like that, it's good to know. And what we're doing is following a very, very simple pyramid that I want to actually show you. I'll show you a real quick one. Did I ever have this uploaded? No, but let me just see. I bet you I can show you. I think you'll like this. This is our health pyramid from Dr. Billinghurst. I want to see what you think about this. Oh, all right. Here we go. Well, is it working for me or not?
Nope. I do not see it on my screen.
Yeah. I just love when things like this happen. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Technology.
I know, right? It's a good here. This is going to be clumsy. This won't work the same way I wanted to, but I'm going to show it real quick. Right in front of us. It's going to be over our picture. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So layer 1 is the most. And this is like the percentage of your bowl. Raw meaty bones, connective tissue. But this is like meat and fat and bone. And then organs, less raw vegetables, and then some fermented on top, which is like what we do at Gussys Gut, or you can ferment your own foods. What do you think of this one?
I love this. I love this pyramid. It's so true. I love it.
Yeah.
Because it goes with the 80-10-10, and then any nutritional deficiencies that might be there, then you put your product in there, and hey, it's great.
And then I don't even I've been doing this so long. I do not even think about 10%. I do not. I just think okay, well, I've got Labradors. This is how much goes in of this much, and it's all. I don't weigh anything. I don't use any measurement of any kind, and I just grab a big spoon. I slop it on. That looks about right. Good.
Yeah,
that's balance over time. It's calorie balance over time. It's all that. And I look at their weight. It is so simple, you guys. Once you do it, you just do it for a little bit. I promise you, it's super awkward at first. I mean, I remembered vividly. I was like, Dr. Billinghurst told me to buy some whole turkeys. I'm in San Diego buying whole turkeys. And I ordered them. And the butcher's like, gosh, not even, Thanksgiving time. And the first time I invested in a cleaver, I never had a cleaver in my life. And I'm hacking this up for my puppy. And I remember saying, oh my gosh, I remember I was stressed out about just giving him a drumstick because he's a puppy, this cute little puppy. And he's like, he will do it. And when I saw my dog, I had never had a dog that ate real meat before. Sometimes we give our dogs cooked meat from barbecues, leftover rib bones, which by the way is not the thing to do, but that's what we were doing when I was growing up. But when I saw this puppy tear apart a turkey leg, I just was like, this is working and this is amazing. I'm watching millions of years of evolution here, and so you can't screw it up if you just adhere to some simple principles. You go principle-based versus nutrient based, I highly recommend you don't do that. Because the thing that I think that we didn't mention we should is when you feed real food and not nutrients that are made in a laboratory, synthetic, I call them synthetic biologics. Like they synthesize biology. They're made in huge vats in sterile laboratories. That's not food. Real food comes from real sources, and it's healthy and it's clean. And whole,
right?
Yes. Which is, by the way, which all Gussys get is whole foods. And like nothing is external. We don't add probiotic powders, nothing like that. And so we have to remember that whole foods, the body stores what it needs and releases it when it doesn't have enough of that thing. So it'll store zinc and vitamin B or whatever, you name it, it'll store it, especially when it has excess, and then it discards what it doesn't need, through the poop, through the urine, all that, just discards it. And so it cashes in. It's like a bank account. Your dog is a bank account. And this is what nutritionism never talks about, is feeding real, clean, whole food is like a bank account, and your body makes withdrawals. The other thing it doesn't talk about, it will never tell you, is to get nutrient deficient truly, is it takes 2 to 2.5 years in most cases of not having that nutrient. Now, you would never want that. I wouldn't even want that for a year, but that doesn't happen over a year's spectrum, a period of time where, you feed a little spleen and the spleen somehow has a nutrient in there that it wasn't in the other stuff. So anyway, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, really.
Okay.
And you mentioned some of the rest.
Because I just went through all that and I would have hate to have been wrong.
No, you're fine. No, we were talking about the recipes. I have had several clients, I should say pet parents. I never call them clients. I should say pet parents. But they will send me a recipe that they've gotten from a board certified veterinary nutritionist. Yeah. Maybe they're holistic, maybe they're not. But they will break it down in like this dog needs 3.58 ounces daily. I'm like, holy cow. Why can't we just say maybe 1/4 pound? Round it to 4 ounces, 3.58. It just doesn't make sense to me, Rob. And it just makes my brain kind of hurt,
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I have heard, I don't even know if I know a board certified veterinary nutritionist, which sounds super duper impressive.
Yeah.
I have to admit, because I look for board certified people in the human world, usually that's pretty darn good. Now, if I can easily ask a board certified nutritionist 5 questions, probably by the first or second question, it would reveal how woefully uninformed they are about nutrition. They're nutrient brilliant because that's all they learned is nutrients. Right. So in a vacuum, they understand individual nutrients and they can impress you and wow you. And if you're watching this and you're a board certified veterinary nutritionist, God bless you. Go forward, do your work. That is not anything I believe in. And Dr. Billinghurst and most of the veterinarians I know that know the power of raw and over decades and decades. And I famously will tell people, look, I have the amazing blood tests of my dogs over their entire lives and long lifespans. I've got proof of work. What do you have? I mean, I have full-on proof of work and of a raw food diet, 100% raw food diet. And so, what I think people need to know is in totality that nutrition through whole foods is where it's at. It's really the best way for the body to have, and the body needs to have variety. And the other problem that you're bringing up with recipes is people just do the same damn recipe over and over again, and that's not variety.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I was going to make one more point when people are looking at nutrition and focusing just on the vitamins or just the minerals or combination is when synthetics are added, the body doesn't recognize synthetics, and most of it is just excreted out, like you said.
Bingo.
But the other thing is, a lot of people will ask me, well, I used this product that you recommended, and there's only like X milligrams of calcium or X milligrams of vitamin C or whatever, vitamin B. And then they'll go, the recommendations are for 500 milligrams. For this, there's only 16 milligrams. I say, you know what? Back away. Look at how the body works. All those ingredients in that whole food supplement work in synergy. They work together. They're a team. So you may not need to take, let's use a human, for example, they're going to take a 500 milligram capsule of vitamin C. Maybe in a whole food situation, they only need 50 milligrams because it's being absorbed and the body's recognizing it.
It identifies it. It knows how to process it. It says, oh my gosh, this is food. This is great.
Yeah.
And then it extracts.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and also these supplements. I used to be a crazy supplement guy. Like, I wanted my first dog to live forever. And I learned when I was 16 all about life extension. I was reading a book called Life Extension from Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw, which is like the hippy-dippy version that everybody said was wrong and then became very true, 20 years later. Like, it's a genius book. But it does talk about nutrients, and it does talk about, like, levers and dials. Like, you can, change, your health based on these big movements are levers, little movements are small dials. And I love that idea.
Yeah, that is great.
It's a romantic idea.
Yeah.
But then what you learn is the way supplements are made is everything, and most of the supplement companies are horrifyingly horrible. Yeah. They're full of junk. Like, surprise, surprise. Like, if you fill a pill with a bunch of rice, rice flour, let's be generous that it's at least rice flour, or magnesium stearate or whatever it is, all these excipients and stuff, they're there for a reason. The quality of their product is not pure enough. And you can make a lot of nutrients on a lot of junk. You can make it, like, I'm convinced you can extract vitamin D from a shoe, a sole of a shoe, in the right laboratory, because once you find out, like, where amino acids can be made from, they could be made from bird feathers.
Oh, I agree. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
And so when you and I'm talking about a human one, by the way, a human amino acid. I got rid of this product because I asked them, I said, what are your sources from amino acids? They wouldn't answer me. And I found out later on through some digging, it's from bird feathers. Well, of course they wouldn't want to tell it. But could you imagine how cheap it is to get bird feathers?
Right.
There's got to be a market for bird feathers of all these animals that are killed in cold, that where are these going to go, in the trash, or do we sell them? This is the industry. The industry makes good use of waste. That's a whole other topic. And It's not always awesome. Like, and I would rather, instead of getting my zinc, and I take a zinc supplement, so I just want to cop to that. I personally do. But it's chelated zinc. It's super high quality. And, oh, my dog just yawned. Hi. I'd rather give my dog a mussel, like a mussel, like a clamshell mussel, seafood, for his zinc, if I had to give him zinc, than a zinc pill. And so I'm just saying, like, that's just an option. It's just look for the food sources. And does that mean every single day I have to give him one mussel? No. Just depends on your vet. And so get a great vet consult from Dr. Fox, and you're off to the races. You're so much better off, by doing it that way.
Thanks, Rob. And then I wanted to just interject that if your veterinarian shames you into feeding raw or doing a homemade diet, find another vet. I mean, it blows my mind. I'm just going to give my little opinion here, unsolicited. But it blows my mind that my colleagues that don't think like I do cannot look at a bag of food, read the ingredient list, and think that's healthy for an animal. When you've got powdered cellulose and you've got all the grains distillers grain bits and wheat middlings and who knows what else they put in there. How that's even, how is that acceptable?
Yeah.
They're telling you not to don't feed meat off this table. Don't do this, don't do that. Well, sure, there's some foods that I wouldn't suggest feeding, like Doritos and Cheetos and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cereal.
What's that?
Cereal.
Yes, right. That's what dry kibble is actually. Cereal.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I need some more time with this idea because I'm a little bit on the fence. Here's my opinion. I'm not congruent, and I don't think that's good because on the one hand, I think that if you're a holistic vet, you want to help the most people you can, and most great holistic vets I know, they're very busy. They're sometimes too busy. So if I was in that position, I would not choose to work with somebody who insisted on feeding a kibble diet. In other words, there'd only be so much help I can give them, and it's probably better they go to somebody else.
Right.
So I probably wouldn't keep that veterinarian. Now you flip the scenario, and I think it doesn't make a lot of sense that somebody wouldn't go to something more nutritious, but I understand that vet has a paradigm, and there's two different reasons why each vet doesn't want to maybe accept the other type of client. But I guess what I'm saying is that I try to be every day, I try to be a better person. I try to be a more accepting and understanding person. And I try to be somebody who takes time and looks deeply at the other side and accepts other opinions. And so I guess where I'm at is I totally respect those vets if they think that raw is scary and dangerous. That's what's in their head. And I also respect what you're saying, which is, if your vet just doesn't support you in general at all in something, you have every right to leave. Of course you do. You can decide that you want to look the other way and ignore that, or you just want to go find the right person and vet for you. So yeah. I would go for a vet that supports me.
Yeah, I've actually had some pet parents that have been shamed to the point where they don't ever want to take their pet back there because they're feeding what nature intended that dog or cat to eat. And they're sometimes bullied, and
that's a whole different situation because it's the method, just the word shame kind of freaks me out that would even a vet would even do that to somebody. But because it is a service, it has a customer, and the vet should just say, you know what, that's not acceptable to me. If that's the way you want to continue to feed your dog, I don't support it. You can go find another vet. And that's okay. Everybody has that choice. We all have choice of who we do business with. And it's probably better in most people's cases that your vet quit you, because most people can't quit their vet. So that's the way I would see it too.
Sure.
Yeah. Real talk here with Rob and Dr. Fox. All right. So this has been really great. And we haven't even, we're at an hour and 3 minutes, and we haven't gotten to our vaccine topic. So let's just go real quick into what your view is on vaccinations as far as for your pets.
Okay. So when we look at a vaccine, the intended use for a vaccine was to prevent disease. So if you give a distemper shot, you're supposedly trying to prevent distemper. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't have any trouble if a vaccine was just the attenuated or the killed or altered virus or bacteria put in saline and injected into the body. I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But it's the up to 22 different excipients, or what we call additives in the vaccines, that cause issues.
Yeah.
So I'm all in favor of vaccinating puppies and kittens according to schedule, 9, 12, and 15 weeks of age for distemper, adenovirus, and parvovirus, 18 to 22 weeks of age for rabies. And then after that, you can run titers to see if your animal's protected or not. Titers are safe. But what's dangerous about vaccines, like I said, is not the whole principle itself. It is the thimerosal, which is a derivative of mercury. They have traces of formaldehyde in them. The most important thing is the adjuvant, which the most common adjuvant is aluminum hydroxide. And aluminum is a heavy metal that stays in the body for years, and it can cause issues in any body system. So I would just encourage all the pet parents to look at vaccine titers, which is a blood test to see if your pet is protected against the disease or not. And if it has enough antibodies or even a few antibodies circulating in its system, it's protected, and you would not need to or revaccinate. So I stumbled over that a little bit because I'm trying to talk really fast because I know we're time related here, but it's just question everything.
Great.
Question everything. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that always concerns me is doing too many different vaccinations too close together.
Right.
For humans and people or animals. Mm-hmm. And the other is that the dosage for a Chihuahua or a Great Dane should be different.
And, yeah, I was going to say it's the excipients that are in this. I mean, so you inject a 5-pound toy dog with the same amount of excipients that you put in a 150-pound Rottweiler. It just doesn't make sense. And that's why we see more vaccine reactions in the smaller breeds.
Yeah. What's this called? I don't have it off the tip of my tongue. The vaccine challenge. People can look that up.
Yeah, Dr. Gene Dobbs and Dr. Ron Schultz, who's past professor of immunology at the University of Wisconsin, they did a 20-year rabies challenge. That means that they tested dogs over a 20-year period to find out after they were vaccinated how long the immunity lasted. And they're finding that the immunity was good for 3, 5, 9, sometimes even 12 years out. And Dr. Gosh, I can't even think of this. Schultz. Yeah, he said, guys, he was at a conference that I was speaking at, and he was the keynote. And he was telling us in private, behind the scenes, that he's never, ever had to revaccinate any of his own dogs after the initial puppy series. They always tested great. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep. And sometimes immunity confers from the mom from her vaccinations.
Correct.
Or not. Yeah. So titers are great to do. And yeah, just Google rabies challenge fund, or just what are the results of the rabies challenge fund studies. And you'll be able to read all about it. It's very interesting. And it'll blow your mind just open about the whole topic. And it is a medication, and you wouldn't over medicate your dog for any other reason. So something to consider. And so with that, I'd also say, like, your comment about private conversations, that's another great reason to have a great pet healthcare team that knows and trusts you over time, because the things you hear in private from your vets that trust you and know you are worth their weight in gold. They will, if you have a vet who trusts you, hear me, folks, like, there's nothing better than a great friend that's a veterinarian that works with you and knows you. You've had conversations. They got to know you, your family. They will tell you in private things they will never tell you in a strict, you visit once every 6 months or once a year. Trust me, that'll never happen. You'll get the best healthcare with a good relationship. So just like I tell everybody, look your rancher, look your farmer in the eyes, shake their hand. Do that with your veterinarian, get to know them, because that relationships are what it's about. It's gonna end up creating a better relationship and outcome for your pets too.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dr. Fox, this has been so much fun. Thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me, Rob. This has been great. The time flies. When you said an hour and 3 minutes, I'm like, I figure we're 20 minutes into it.
Yeah, I felt that way too. Well, thank you so much. And everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And so just again, if you want to go visit Dr. Barb Fox's website, all you have to do is go to BarbFoxDVM.com, spelling that out for folks listening, not watching, and BarbFoxDVM.com. And you could book a session anywhere you want around the world. If you're watching this in Australia and you can make the time work, let's do it. Get on the phone with Dr. Fox. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you. It's been great. Thanks, Rob.
Have a great day, everybody.